Hi,
Hello, everyone.
welcome to another episode of Conscious Conversations. I'm one of your co-hosts, Whitney Ghaffari. I'm a master coach and marketing strategist, owner and founder of Soul Cult, business cultivation for the conscious community. And I am joined by my beautiful co-host,
Narat Teopi, soul-centered coach, wisdom traditionist, and soon to be, in a couple years, doctorates of Oriental medicine. So excited to be here. Also owner of Nourishing Nature, which is a coaching program, and so excited to have you all here joining us. I'm really looking forward to our special guest, Ada, Elder Ada, who is going to be joining us in the second part of our show. So we're kind of speak more to her and give a real introduction when she joins us.
yes. Oh, I'm so excited to meet her because you have told me so much about the time that you got to spend with her in Peru while you were studying and mentoring underneath her, and just the vast amount of wisdom and knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
passion that she has. I'm so excited that you know her and that now I'm going to get to know her too. Like, this is
Yeah.
great for me.
Yeah, it's such an honor to have her join us all the way from Peru. So I'm like really praying to the spirits that everything will flow smoothly when she joins. But yes, I think a part of going back to our roots is having elders and confidants or mentors that can help us and nourish us on our path of finding ourselves and healing ourselves. So Ada has definitely been that for me and has also inspired, my coaching, my offerings that I, provide to the community. Um, but yeah, I think there's definitely more to say about having elders, having mentorships, and guiding us to what it means to come back to our roots. So I'm excited to dig into that deeper.
Yeah, same. Oh my goodness. So while we await for her arrival, we're going to kick off the first half of our um, super excited, for multiple reasons, especially for me. So if you got a chance, if you're connected and you're following me currently on social media, well, on Instagram, I'm not going to like I'm really on Facebook. I am, but I'm not. Whatever, it's a whole thing. But if you're following me on Instagram at Whitney Ghaffari, I posted earlier about why this show is so important and just why it's so timely. Going back to our roots, something that I'm really excited about from the perspective of, like Narete mentioned earlier, about having elders to be able to guide us back to the wisdom of, what is in your lineage and how do they mend and heal themselves? How do we heal ourselves and heal the planet at the same time? And for me, as a African American who's lived here my whole entire life, I know nothing beyond, my grandparents, and some of our family members have been able to trace some of, who's who. The farthest that we've ever been able to go back is that um, Thomas Jefferson's plantation. Like, that's the extent of what my family has been able to research, and we know that he raped one of our family members, and through that, we have our family lineage grew. But before the shores of North America, no idea. And it's such a privilege to be able to know who you are. And I've been really on this amazing journey of self discovery and learning more about who I am. And so I took a DNA test through African ancestry, and I'm so grateful for this company. I'm really, really grateful, because how they differ from the traditional DNA places like 23andMe, or how I can't remember some of the other ones, but like ancestry.com, they just show you like percentages of where you're from. Like, oh, you're like 5% this and 7% of this East European, like whatever, whatever, whatever. But with African ancestry, they have the largest database of
Mm.
African descendants. They have a database of, well, not African descendants, but the mitochondrial DNA for people of African descent from the continent of Africa. So what that means is that they're able to trace both my maternal and my paternal. So both my
Mm.
mother and my father, they're able to trace the mitochondrial DNA, and these are specific um, genomes that are passed down from mother to daughter through the years, just like it is able to be passed down from father to son throughout the years. And so I took two tests. I had one I took myself for the maternal side, the other one I had my father take. And I've been waiting months to get the results back. And I finally have them. So we are going to share live on the show. I am going to share with you what my results are. I literally did not check the email. Like I got the email notification yesterday that like, hey, your results are ready. Here it is. But I thought, wow, how cool is this? Like we're having this awesome show with an Indigenous elder who's going to be talking about going to your family tree and how that's where you really start healing your soul wounds. And that's been true for something that I can personally attest to just from my own healing journey. I know, Norete, you've been doing your own soul work and
Mhm.
working to heal a lot of the things within your family as well. And it just becomes a whole other level when you know where your people are from. And so I'm excited to be able to share this special moment with you. This seems like such a privilege. Narate, I can't think of anybody else that I could share. I'm like, yeah, I should be sharing with my family, and hopefully they're tuning in and watching as well. I did give them a little heads up, like I don't know, a couple hours ago. I was actually going to share on here. Um, so yeah, I felt like this was really fitting. It made sense, and it's just such a timely thing. And before I go any further and actually like get my phone and pull up the emails and share with you, I just really, again, I want to acknowledge just what a privilege it is to be able to know who you are. I think back to being in school when we'd have special days and they tell you to like,
Mm.
dress up like, your great grandparents, or, do something that represents your culture, or, those kinds of things. And for me, I couldn't really point to
Mm.
anything. I grew up in Southeast Missouri, um, and I just knew that we were descendants of enslaved people. That's it. And then there's just all of the uh, pop culture's version of what Black culture looks like, but I don't have anything like heritage wise to point to. And so growing up and feeling disconnected from who I am and knowing like why I'm the way that I am, or why do I have a tendency or proclivity for certain things, like I didn't know that. And so I would look at all of my schoolmates and I'd meet people throughout the years who are just like, I'm Irish, I'm German, I'm third generation this. And I'm like, cool, that's awesome. I'm just Black.
Mm.
And I'm the daughter of Gwendolyn Duncan, who's the daughter of Anita Smith. That's it. Like I couldn't really tell you much more. And it's a privilege to not only be able to go back and be connected to who you are, but then also to be able to start that healing when there's so much that keeps us from all of that. And the world, that's by design. Like let's not even pretend,
Mhm.
completely by design. So I want to just completely acknowledge the fact that it took resources to be able to have this testing done. And I'm grateful for the privilege that I had in being able to do that. It's a privilege to now know this information. It's a privilege for me to have the resources of healing and being able to get connected and, have the tools that I need to have the conversations with my family. And also, what does that mean for me in my own life?
Yeah.
Sense. Like, there's so much.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, so anyways, I
Mm.
have to acknowledge that. Got to name the privilege where it comes, because
Yes.
then that makes me just a hypocrite, and I don't want to be that way. Before I go on, Narate, is there anything that you want to say or add? Or
I'm just really grateful. Like, I mean, because I remember when you first told me, like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this," and I feel like we've been waiting months. Like, I've been with you,
we haven't.
waiting for this
I did this
for
in like
months.
I bought the test in June. It came like with COVID and everything slowing things down. I want to say
Mhm.
maybe the end of June is maybe about where when I got it, and now we're
Mhm.
literally at October's door. So yeah, we've been waiting some months.
Yeah. So I'm honored to have kind of walked this journey with you and get to be here to experience like the reveal. And my if you receive like my kind of wish and hope and prayer for you is like the more you can learn about yourself and be able to like reclaim who you are and heal yourself and your whole ancestry by claiming your roots. I think that's so powerful, as you kind of names, like not being able to, like for school, like, because that is such, like you just named like such a crucial thing in school, dress up as your culture, you know, and not having that, not knowing it. Like, I mean, people are oblivious to that, you know, they don't experience that. So I really am grateful for you to name that, even though it's, I can't imagine as a child what that's like, but you know, I think it puts it into perspective for others, like, oh, wow. Okay. But yeah, I hope that this allows you to continue your journey of reclaiming, and I'm excited to be here as you do it.
Yay. Okay, the suspense is killing me. And it really took everything that I had this morning when I first woke up and was sitting in meditation to like not. I was like, well, I could just like take a little peek and then I'll act all surprised and then it'll be a whole thing. But I'm a lady of integrity, so I kept my word. All right. So
I feel like I need like a drum roll.
I know. All right. So first result, because I'm going to read two since I had two tests. All right. So this is going to be my maternal one. Greetings, Whitney. Okay, I literally have to actually click a link. Sorry. Let's open it up. Oh, it's so pretty. I wish I could like do a share screen thing.
You can.
Oh, can I? Oh, but I'm on my phone looking it up, and it'll be a whole thing. If
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. All right. And this, dear Miss Ghaffari, it is with our great pleasure that I report the results of your Matri clan test. So this is my mother's DNA. We have determined that the ancestry of your maternal lineage is is European. What does this mean? We compared parts of your maternal. Wow. We compared parts of your maternally inherited DNA from people around the world to look for matches. In your case, we found identical 100% matches with the mTDA, which is the mitochondrial DNA of a European woman. This means that at some point in the 500 to 2,000 year history of your maternal lineage, mother to mother to mother, there was a European woman. Since there is no database of European lineages by tribe or country, we cannot identify a specific group name. However, the scientific definition of the group is called haplogroup U6A. Please see the enclosed sheets for further explanation. Below, we list the data that we used in your analysis. And then it lists the different scientific variances. Your result applies to your entire maternal lineage from the past and into the future. So we encourage you to share it with people on your mother's side of the family, including your siblings, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, your mother's, her sisters, and brothers, and your grandmother. We understand that this information may be surprising, especially if you were not aware of any European women on your mother's maternal line. Please understand that this does not mean that you are not from Africa, nor does it mean that you are not Black. It simply means that of the hundreds of branches on your family tree, this one is not African. Any of the specialists in our office is happy to discuss other lineages, da 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 da. So that is fascinating. So I will now need to do a different kind of DNA test in order to learn specifically about my mother's side of the family and yeah, where I come from. Wow, that is I was not expecting. Like I know that we have I expected by the least, obviously, that there would be white European male. Just granted, since the fact that we came from somebody, anyways, from Thomas Jefferson, did not expect it to necessarily show up on my grandmother's side. But
so,
go ahead.
How do they, like? What is it? I'm trying to grasp the understanding of this. Like, who is that lady that they of your ancestry that they are? Like, how many generations back are they going? you know, how does that become the root of the ancestry? Now I got so many questions.
Yeah, I know, right? So what I'm gathering from this is that they're well, actually, well, okay. Oh, I would need. That's not possible. I don't know. Is that there must have been a European woman who had a child with an African man, and so she carried to term and produced a biracial lineage um, for where, yeah, is that it yeah,
Yeah, that would be
yeah. Wow, was not expecting that. Okay, let's learn about my dad.
okay.
Okay, so that was that email. Click this link. Okay. All right. Ooh. All right. Same entry or intro. Um, by analyzing your Y chromosome DNA, we have determined that you share paternal genetic ancestry with the Akan people in Ghana today.
Wow.
Wow. Below is a copy of your Y chromosome polymorphisms used in the analysis. You have inherited this segment of DNA through your father, and it has been passed on consistently from father and son over the last 500 to 2,000 years.
Wow.
Um, let's see. Our scientists compared your Y chromosome polymorphisms, blah, blah, to those from people around the world and found a 100% match to samples from the Akan people or Akan people. I don't really know actually how to pronounce that. But the Akan people in Ghana today, your sequence similarity score is 100%, reflects our level
Wow.
of confidence in the accuracy of your match. Moreover, everyone in your family that descends from your paternal grandfather and his brothers share your Akan Akan ancestry. Enclosed, you will find a certificate of ancestry that authenticates your paternal ancestry and a booklet to help you understand and share your results and information about joining the African Ancestry online community and all kinds of stuff. Oh my gosh. So I'm European and I'm Ghanaian, 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 Ghanaian. I'm from Ghana. That is really, really, really amazing to now to just know.
Mm-hmm. And what a 100% match.
Yes.
100%. Wow.
That is wow. Yeah. That's really, really, really cool. I cannot wait to dig in and to learn more about the people of Ghana. I know that they have opened up their doors and are welcoming people from the diaspora to come home. And
Wow.
people, yeah, they're doing some really cool and big things with
Hmm.
having people be able to come back home. And I would be so down for that. But currently, they don't accept queer individuals. Like people are dying. So
Okay.
there's a little issue. Since I'm pansexual, that's going to be kind of a problem. And I definitely didn't work this hard to live this out loud, um, to have to go and closet myself. But I am so down to visit, and I'm really stoked. I'm speechless. Like I'm really speechless, and I'm also now really, really, really curious too to just learn more about my mom's side. Like I'm really this blindsided me. I did not expect. My grandmother is super light skinned, super, super light skinned, but we have so many shades in our family. So like it just
Hmm.
didn't really, it didn't dawn on me. Um, wow, wow, wow.
More investigating to be done.
The
More
plot thickens.
conversation. Yeah, the plot thickens. Yeah, it's really, I mean, first knowing the name or like being able to like have that for sure name of what what do they call it? Like, 'cause there's some people do ethnic groups, tribes.
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure what's the right pronunciation or the right term. But
Let me think
yeah,
of
the name, for the group that your
let's
lineage comes from.
well, you know what? We got Google on our side, so hold on. We're gonna find out because we're all gonna learn today.
Mhm. And also just shout out from Savannah. Thank you for sharing, Whitney. I also did a DNA test and it was fascinating to understand our lineage and it can be overwhelming. Enjoy learning and connecting.
Thank you, Savannah. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Doot,
I
doot.
appreciate that so much. And congrats to you for doing the work and uncovering your lineage. And you're right, it is definitely it's overwhelming. Um, I'm an emotional person. I cry at Hallmark commercials. I cry at insurance commercials. I cry at a lot of things.
Mhm.
And I'm always surprised at the things that make me teary eyed. But I knew that this would be something that I would be emotional about. But I definitely didn't think that the fact that discovering the European part was what would shake me. Um,
Yeah. I mean, and I have to say too, like they're kind of what they kind of shared afterwards,
mhm.
I think was a really beautiful reminder too. I kind of liked how they were like reassuring you, this doesn't mean, because it's like the
Yeah.
I wanted to like I was expecting to see more of what you saw on your side, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah. Talk
mhm,
about identity crisis, like in that sense of like you look at my skin is brown. I do not look like my grandmother at all, like in terms of skin tone. Um, and my mom, my dad, my brother, and I, like we all are within the same shade range. So to be told that my ancestry maternally is actually straight up European is
yeah.
yeah, like that's wild. That's so wild to me. Um,
And
yeah.
then just thinking about like that relationship of that particular great,
Mhm.
great, 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 great
Yeah.
grandmother.
Yeah.
Like what was that relationship?
Yeah. Did she know? Like, or not did she know, but sorry, my mind went on autopilot. How what was that dynamic? What was the trauma? What was their identity crisis? Was there connection to her children? Like what kind of bonds were there? And what was the quality and the
Mhm,
temperature and the pulse of those
mhm,
bonds with children when
mhm.
you were birthing a child, presumably in a time that, that probably wasn't
Well,
acceptable or was acceptable? Like, I don't
yeah, 5,000, what was it? 500, five
um,
thousand years ago?
goes back to from 500 to 2,000 years ago.
So 2,000 years ago though,
Mhm.
like, I don't know, like I pray it wasn't like it was in the last,
400, 500 years.
yeah.
I hope that it
I
was.
mean, there's hope, I feel like there's, what if it was beautiful? What if there was so much love and freedom and who you loved and that expression and I mean that would be something beautiful to hope for,
Yeah.
and then somehow along the lines it got really shitty,
Yeah.
but but it's getting better. Pray, it's gonna
Yes. Thank
um
you so much
but bless.
for bringing that back around because that's true. Because there was a time here in the collective North American space where people were living just folks, and it wasn't a big deal, and it was very common for there to be interracial relationships. So yeah, 2,000 years ago, I hope the game was way different than the nonsense that we were dealing
Yeah.
with. I just found the pronunciation, so I'm gonna. Can you hear that?
Akan, Akan,
Akan.
Akan,
Like it's AA and then Kaan. Akan.
Akan. Mm.
Akan. So the Akan people, the Akan people of Ghana. There it is. That is that's where my color comes from.
Yeah, Akan, Akan.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Hmm. Learning about, since I can't trace anything else back but this. Um, Ghana is part of West Africa, which is part of the coast in which people were taken.
Mm.
I'm very curious about what do the people, like the people who are there today and come from lineages of those whose family members maybe didn't become enslaved. I'm curious about like their experience and like what to to know somebody, you know, to be in that time where you are witnessing um, the kidnapping, the brutal kidnapping of people. I'm very curious just about like what kind of impact and traumatic experience for those who stayed um, on the continent and the versus those who left. Like we already know how
Mhm.
they turned out here, but for those who stayed behind, I'm very curious about like what do their soul wounds look like,
Yeah.
and how to go about healing, you know, from both continents.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah. That's some really good questions. And I mean, hopefully one, like you'll go visit and have that experience of like talking with people. And yeah, but I mean, trauma both sides,
Hmm.
just sad.
It's
Just,
inescapable.
yeah. It definitely, you have me inspired to look up I think my mom had, like she did ancestral DNA.
Hmm.
My aunt did it on my dad's side. And so I was able to find out some things, but I'd be really interested on if I could get the specifics.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be really neat. So you've inspired me. I'll have to take a look at that. But I will say, just from my experience of being able to find out more about, like my grandmother, we knew she was African descent,
Hmm.
no idea, what, but then my aunt took the DNA test and it said the Congolese in Nigeria.
Mm.
So that kind of gave that basis, right? Of, okay, like this is something.
Yeah.
But her name was Juanita Smith. And I think it was very close to what you said.
Oh my gosh.
You said Anita or Juanita, but Smith.
Anita.
Okay.
Anita is my
Anita.
grandmother. Hmm.
Yeah. Juanita Smith. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
yeah, when you said that, I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Hmm.
Huh.
But yeah, I think there is something to say about learning about your ancestry or DNA. And I think it will be nice. Hopefully Ada will join us soon. But I remember when I didn't really know, and there's the identity crisis of like, what am I? Who am I? Like, I don't feel like I have culture, and the culture that was kind of put on me as a child is not
Hmm.
does not resonate with me.
Right.
Um, and so I think this gives us the ability to start reclaiming and learning. And I'm excited to see what you learn about the Akan, yeah. Um, and what manifests from that. Because I remember we were having a conversation a while ago about spiritual practices. I think this also
Mhm.
kind of relates to going back to our roots, is
Totally.
the spiritual practices, the connection with nature. And this is something that also, side note, drew me to Five Elements, because all of these wisdom traditions that
Mhm.
are in my blood, they all understood the importance of our connection with nature, right?
Yeah.
Um, I forgot what I was going to say. I went on that side note, and back
So
to our
the
roots.
spiritual practices are going back to our roots.
Yes. Okay. I got it. Because we talked about, divination and different
Mhm.
spiritual practices. Um, and one of the things that, if I'm correct, I think you mentioned that, you wanted to learn was where you're from, so that you could start learning about the spiritual
Yes.
practices and things like that from that particular wisdom tradition. So that's very
Yeah,
exciting.
that's definitely something that I think I'm stoked about the most because, um, growing up in a very conservative religion and like from birth, that's literally all I knew until age of 25.
Hmm.
And then taking the last 8 years to unlearn all of those oppressive practices and belief systems and thought processes so that I could just hear my own intuition speak and to know exactly what it is that guides me. And I just knew that textbook Christianity wasn't necessarily it. Um, like there's no shade out there. It just the way in which it was practiced and put upon me, and the fact that it was oppressive, and then getting older and understanding truly what colonization was about and how it was a weapon and a tool. Like I just it did not fit me, and it also just didn't fit who I was at my spiritual and essence in my core. um,
Mm.
and just trying to figure out like what does spirituality mean. And it's been such a journey and such a road to try to figure out. And I knew that like once I started my when I took your program and helped me just kind of sink further down into, well, what's going to resonate with me most. And I knew that if I had ancestral awareness, if I just knew what did my people actually practice, what kind of elemental awareness, what kinds of rhythms and flows because of nature, what did they in what did they know as indigenous people? Like there's some things that I feel like I just can't read in a book in order to know. And I'm really stoked about being able to learn about Akan people and how did they practice their spirituality, what made them feel like they were one with the universe, and how did they use that practice to govern themselves in community. Like that's just ah I'm really, really, really stoked. I'm really,
Mm.
really, really, really freaking stoked. And I will eventually at some point I'll sample and see, what do the Europeans got for me
Yeah.
besides Christianity, like what Europe is huge, like what part of Europe? I have so many questions.
Yeah. Okay, so they said that I refresh my mind. Did they say that they couldn't give you an exact like they just said European. They didn't. Okay.
Correct.
So you have
Yeah.
to do another thing to kind of figure out where.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All
the so I'll start a GoFundMe so I can raise money to now go through this again.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I also want to just comment on something that you mentioned. And kind of, if you don't mind me sharing, just my kind of experience with
Yeah,
what you're saying. Like,
go for it.
as many of you guys know, I started my master's program in Oriental medicine. And before I started that, I was doing a lot of research about my roots and the Filipino people on my dad's side. And, the indigenous people that were called the Taoist.
Mhm.
And they were, again, everything we mentioned, very connected to the earth, honored the earth because they understood that they were people of the earth that lived from the earth. They recognized the importance of and the patterns, like, and just being able to witness, okay, these natural phenomenons that are happening in nature are also happening within us. We also go through these
Mhm.
patterns, we go through seasons, we have polarity, and if something's out of balance, it's going to cause everything else to be out of balance. And just like we're seeing now with global warming, all of these fires, and all of these things
Mhm.
that are happening in nature, which are just horrible. Um, and so, studying about the Taoist people and then starting my master's program and finding out that, the ancient ones is what they called from the Chinese traditions were actually the Taoist people.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah. And so I was like, oh my goodness, this is probably why I'm so drawn to
It makes
this
sense.
practice. Yeah. I was
See,
like, this
literally
is
everything that you've been doing in all forms. Like, oh my god,
Mhm.
yeah, this is your path, of course.
Right. Yeah. It's just like, oh my goodness, this is wow. I didn't know that, but like it just aligns, right? There's alignment there. And just kind of really showed me that I am on the right path. That's why I've been drawn to this wisdom, because it is from the deep. roots. It's from like the origin of my father's side. But I definitely have to say that I think this connection, this mind, body, spirit, that our ancient ones, our ancestors from Asia, from all over, from the north, from Africa, like I mean, even the Dagari from Africa believed in the five elements, right? So there's this distinct connection when it comes to nature within and without us that really filters all around us. But,
Yeah.
because of things that happened and horrible things and traumas, and having, because one group of people didn't believe in that, like having that kind of stripped away and taken away, I think it's important now more than ever to come back to reclaiming who we are and our connection to the earth. We can't reclaim who we are unless we also reclaim that connection to Mother Nature, or try
Mm.
to revive or restore, which I think we can. I think we can. I think we definitely put ourselves in a rough situation, but
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I have hope that we can. What
I
do you
do
think?
too. I think that we do have hope. Like I think that there's still a chance. Um, and I also think better late than never. Um, I think now is such a crucial time for us to start focusing and to look at um, what ways can we heal. Because I just kind of think about, like, while I was listening to you speak about what's just happening right now on like a global scale, and bringing it back down to like the person, is that we wouldn't see the level of domination and the level of um, I guess, to just put a big overarching, toxic masculinity. We wouldn't see that at the scale in which it is, because people would have healed what's within themselves to not feel as though they need to measure their power by how much they can take, like how much land can I claim, how much how much money can I make, how much, just, it's all of this dominance. I need to take over this space, I need to pour concrete all over it, I need to do like all these things to flex my dominance. There would be a much more balanced, the yin and the yang, like it would be so much more balanced, it would all be in harmony. But because there's so much internal, like you mentioned, like the things that are happening outside are a reflection of what's happening inside, is that things would have been harmonized and put, not diluted. There's another word that I'm thinking of and I can't think of it, so now I'm just gonna keep it moving. It would have just, it would have been fused. Like it just would have been neutralized if people would have taken the time to heal it. And instead, because people didn't, and it's like, oh, well, we don't acknowledge that there's a mental health issue, or we don't acknowledge that there's a this or that. You just soldier on, you just keep it moving, you just blah, 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 blah. But think of the impact. And then because of that impact, then there's a ripple effect. And then hello, we're here today. You know? Um, but if I do the work, which, my work is not over, but I have come a long ass way. And I think about where I came from and like who old Whitney would have been behaving and the things that I would have been doing, which would have just been perpetuating more pain and more toxic ways of being. But if I can check myself and I'm able to start reeling it in and I can start healing myself, then my peaceful presence and the knowledge and the wisdom that I've gained, I can now like literally reach one, teach one. Like I'm able to reach back and I can help someone else on their journey. And if everybody's doing that kind of work, then oh my gosh, like where would we, what, how amazing
Hmm.
life would
Hmm.
be, and like what healing then that means. Because again, like this, I think about the climate change, why do we have climate change? It wasn't necessarily by the individual contributions. Yes, we all play a part, but I didn't start a huge manufacturing, polluting, industrial business. Like that's, I didn't do that. We all are benefiting from it, but we have to check that and we have to start voting with our dollars. Oh my God, it's just all cyclical. I could go on and on. There's so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. It's the web. It's like the web of how everything connects, and Yeah, even though we weren't the people who started it, like we're obviously the people who are paying for it, and who, hopefully by joining together can do something about it. Um, but it's just interesting to think about, and these wisdom traditions that I've studied and continue learning from, like, again, these, just the importance of, like, it was saying in one of the books I'm reading, for Eastern medicine, that a doctor, right? You cannot be a doctor if you don't understand the patterns of the earth. If you don't understand the seasons, if you're not able to intuitively, like, go outside and be like, okay, it's in winter, and right now, instead of being like a cold time, it's hot. And, just being able to understand the patterns of imbalances in nature, because those imbalances affect us.
Mhm.
So say, like, if you don't understand nature's patterns, you are not a proficient doctor. You're not going to be able to provide treatment for a patient that is going to be effective, because you're not seeing the whole of
Mhm.
it. Anyways, I'm just like, this is so interesting. I got to learn more about, the planets and about all of these things, because all of that in the big web of our lives
Mhm.
affects, if you're, it also talks about, like, if you're live in hot weather and you go to the North Pole, like, that extreme difference affects your body.
Yeah.
And you can be then exposed to external pathogens that are going to affect you. But anywho, won't go down too deep in that. But just the realization that the environment, nature, we affect each other, right? Obviously, we affect it because of everything that we've done and how these things are happening. Um, but yeah, there's definitely, we have to be aware, like, in our generation, like, my nephew, they went to this school called the Forest School,
Hmm.
where they literally have school out in the forest. Like,
Wow. What is
isn't that
that
cool?
like?
Rain or shine? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, that's amazing. I want my kids to, like, go to a school like that. I bet you it's going to be harder for them to get sick, because their immune system is going to be,
Amazing.
yeah. Um, but just the difference is, like, immersing ourselves in that type of knowledge,
Mm.
which seems, for the Western mind, it's
Very
like,
fluff, very like,
yeah.
well, how is that going to further, like, we need something directly tied to commerce. Like, what?
Hmm.
I think about
Yeah.
that all the time. Like, this is something that is actually crucial. And we need to know these things so that we know how to show up as people.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. I know we were having a conversation earlier about the views of Western medicine versus the views of Oriental medicine or Eastern medicine, and how people just are looking to just put a band aid. Like, let me just give you this pill. Let me just, like you mentioned before, like you went to the doctor and they're like, oh, well, it's probably just gas, you're fine, or like, or you need to go do whatever. But
Or let me refer you to another doctor who's going to
yeah,
refer you to another doctor.
like, no, I came to you so that you could fix my thing. And if you're not going to go any deeper, what are we doing? What are we doing? And the fact that that's Eastern medicine is looked so down upon here. You were telling me before about like the regulations within the states, how there's only a couple states that will actually recognize as a primary care physician someone who has gone through the exact same training.
And more, because we're not just learning Western medicine, we're learning Eastern. So our training is like double what a
Mhm.
other Western person had. And a lawyer, like, it was like saying all these things, like a lawyer, it's twice as much, and for the hours. So, but that's definitely the problem, is whether it's medicine, whether it's spirituality, if it doesn't meet the Western perspective, it's
Mhm.
looked down upon. And
And then put
apparently nature, connection with nature, is also looked down upon, which I just,
like, why?
yeah, don't
Why?
understand. So,
Uh, there's there yeah, that whole thing just really leaves me with so much to unpack because I'm frustrated. Like I feel the frustration in my body rising. Immediately, like two things that popped into my head is when, as you explained, like what you actually have to go through for your training and how it compares to your Western medicine counterparts, that it's literally the age old adage of having to work twice as hard to get not as far.
Yeah, because once you even get the accreditation, it's like
Yeah.
you have to work extra hard to actually become the primary care physician. So,
hmm To not get the same level of respect. But then I look immediately at how much yoga was just like, oh, that's just like whatever, like blah, blah, blah. Like it was for the people in the culture that practiced it spiritually, like it was just a side eye. And then all of a sudden, you have a couple of people who go and they decide that, oh, they want to do it. Then they bring it back and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's blah, blah, blah.
the
But you have
fab.
people who've been doing it for like centuries.
Hmm.
And like it's so interesting how something will be looked down upon when it comes to things that are of the natural elements, something that's connecting you to the universe at large, everything. When I say universe, I'm talking about the cosmos, I'm talking about the planet, I'm talking about the water, the earth, like everything that is within the universe, and how it's very quickly to be dismissed if you are someone who is in tuned with it. But then the moment in which it renders some kind of aid, then
Yeah.
it's co-opted. And then it's like, oh, well, we've been knowing all along. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Irritated.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, one second, my dear. I just got a little message from Ada. She is a recti. She's going to be logging on.
Yay!
So hip hip hooray.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be meeting Ada finally for the first time. And thank you so much. Like seriously, thank you so much for sharing your elder with us. This is such a honor and such a privilege to be able to have her with us. I'm so
Yes.
while she is getting logged in, I'm gonna read her bio
Mhm.
and to kind of get you all whet your appetite for what's about. Ada is a direct descendant of the Wari people of Peru. She inherited ancient traditions and profound knowledge related to plants, spirits, and magical storytelling from her ancestors. Indigenous wisdom from the highlands. Um, Huachi? Do you know how to pronounce that? Huachi, Wachiri,
Mhm.
and Wanta, and the Amazon rainforest. Ashanika tribe is part of her DNA. I'm so sorry that I'm probably butchering this. She is a well-educated and studied sociology and anthropology at she studied sociology and anthropology at Catholic University in Lima, Peru. After her first experience with her master plant in 1989, while living with magical beings in the jungle and spiritual guardians of the mountains Apis, Ada reconnected with her ancient knowledge and became aware of the incredible wisdom that her ancestors passed on to her as a child through her grandmother. Upon this awakening, Ada would never return to live or work in Lima. She felt a powerful calling to stay deep in the Amazon forest or up in the highlands. Over a 25-year journey, Ada became a shaman, a healer, a curandera. The true essence and meaning of her life is in honoring the ancient wisdom of her ancestors and practicing the new skills that nature, plant medicines, and indigenous elders pass on to her. Serving her people, Ada has become a spiritual leader in her tribal community and supports their efforts to defend their territories, the pristine forests, natural resources, and headwaters. Today, she walks among the indigenous, modern, and global worlds. She brings technical assistance to indigenous communities to protect their lands legally, to preserve the amazing sources of native plants, trees, animals, and water, and to help perpetuate the ancient healing practices among her people and others. Ada is both a shaman and an activist. To stimulate interest in and support for her life's work, she offers her ancient wisdom as a healer and explains how essential it is to preserve the rainforest. Recently, Ada has been researching and writing her first published book about indigenous knowledge and the role of shamanic medicine women in the Peruvian Amazon. this is the leader that we are having joining us today. And while we work through this some technical issues to get her plugged in, because she's joining us live from Peru, I'm going to actually pull up a link to drop into the comments. And it's a link for if you'd like to support the work that Ada is doing for the Wari people. Let me add this. You will be able to go there. You're able to donate. You can learn more about the work that Ada is doing. So while Narete is doing some technical stuff, I'm going to grab this link real quick, and we are going to have her joining us in just a few moments.
Doesn't matter if you are in Hawaii. It's the same. It's the United States.
Yes. 1 second, Mama Ada. Can you hear
I can
her?
hear her. Is she going to join us by phone?
Okay, so
okay.
so as Mama Ada said, the technology is very different. So we can hear you though now. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Ada.
Yeah.
Do you hear me clearly?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Okay. Okay.
So my friend Whitney, my co-host, just read your bio, and we are so grateful to have you joining us from Peru.
Thank you.
And
what is your name again, please?
Whitney.
Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Whitney.
Hi, Ada. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Her, but Whitney says that she's
so grateful and excited to have you.
Okay, so what type of technology you are using? It's not Zoom.
Yeah, so this
is a different one.
Yes, this is a different one. This is called StreamYard. So it's instead of like Zoom, where you're in this is live. So it's live on YouTube where people can watch it right now, but it's broadcasted to anyone and everyone, everywhere.
But do you think that if I go through what is the name of this again? YouTube, may I see you directly or not?
Yes, if you go to YouTube, you'll be able to see us.
Okay, let me try.
Okay.
Let me try if YouTube works out.
Okay.
Let's see.
I will send you the link.
I have the YouTube right now, but I didn't see. It brings a lot of publicity. So no idea where are you.
I'm gonna send you a link right now of where we are. I send you one. Let's see. Yes, technology is not.
It doesn't work for me, my darling. Remember, I am from other space, from other type of ecosystem, another kind of mentality. So no idea.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean with technology? I mean, no idea.
Okay, I'm gonna send you.
At a certain point, it's very frustrating because I know that it's important to connect with technology, but after a while, especially having this deep work and commitment in my community, I am not quite sure if I am close to you again. It's just really difficult.
Yeah. Well, I think it's okay. I sent you the YouTube so you can see us, but do you mind just talking, maybe sharing kind of what we talked about of like, what does it mean for us to go back to our roots?
My darling, this is not my fault that I am really late. I didn't know that you were quite clear about the time, but you know me, Nirete, so I cannot speak right away because you want me. I think it's very important the feeling that this conversation, is getting to allow us to some kind of real connection.
Yeah.
Otherwise, at least for me, because I am not a technology person, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And this is not working not because I need your money. This is working because we cannot communicate quite clear and from our hearts. It's what is the point? What is the point right now at this moment in this time in the universe and planet Earth? It doesn't work for me, Nirete. And you know that I love you and I respect you so much. And I know if your friends, what is her name again?
Whitney.
Whitney is listening right now, my voice, my reflection about the way that we try to communicate and pass the information and bring the message up to share and reflect. But this is not like a cold communication. I don't believe that. I don't follow that kind of version of technology and virtual communication and virtual message and speaking spirituality, but with this kind of coldness. So I want to make sure if you are in my synchronicity that I'm trying to communicate and pass to you the energy and the information. I am far away from Hawaii. I am far away from the US. We are in another hemisphere. We are in another frequency. The vibration is quite different. So humanity or humans are just one, but at the same time we are different because we belong to a certain type of ecosystem. We flow with a certain type of energy. We are close to the moon, close to the equator, close to the sea, close to the forest. So north, south, east, west. So for me, that means a lot. And I don't know for you, darling. So I don't really know. So it's not about, a compromise. Because you want to make sure that we will get connected and respect our compromise. I really try. And I sent to you my reflection already.
Yes.
And you were okay with that. You like it, but
yes.
But at this
Thank
point,
you.
But at this point in Peru and you in Hawaii, you see, so I cannot connect with your friend. I cannot remember her name. For me, this particular moment means a lot. If I cannot remember her name and asking you 3 times, something is going on. We are not really connected. Are you following me, Nirete?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
So please try to explain to your audience and your friends. I don't know if they can hear me.
Yes, they can hear you.
I can hear you. Yeah, totally understand.
So I need some feedback.
No, I feel like I totally understand where you're coming from and the connection and not being able to connect and see and be on this, not sure if we're on the same vibration. And I just want to say, I think Whitney as well want to say thank you for sending us the information, your reflections, and for being willing to share your wisdom. And even what you've just shared, there's so much wisdom to what you shared.
I
And
was ready since you contact me.
mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
you know me. I love you. I respect your work.
Yes.
But you know, something is not quite clear between us, darling.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the zone times. For example, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. So, for me, as an indigenous woman, that means a lot. Frequency, vibration, energy, a state of mind, a state of body, a state of spirit, a state of the existence, human existence. And remember, Nirete, when we were together in Chasuta, at my maestro's beautiful land, so many times Westerners are galloping without any sense. And even that you are so proud of your roots, even that you are working so hard to bring back, you know, the roots for your relatives, but still you are galloping like a Westerner. Are you following me?
Yep. Yes.
So what is the point when we go back to our roots to connect not only with our ancestry, if not to connect with the real meaning of being spiritual, to bring up your spirit, to wake up your spirit? I'm asking as an indigenous woman, as an elder, because I am almost 60 years old, and I am asking to you, to your friends in Hawaii, in Chicago, in New York, in California, in Colorado, in the US. Can you wake up your spirit at the same time that you are galloping frenetically with your mind? How you can find out the base where you can approach to both of them and caress your mind horse and hold your beautiful spirit at the same time. And I am asking to all of you, not only you, dear Nirete, if not all of you. So right now I feel that you are galloping frenetically. It's not wrong, it's not bad, it's different. And my state of mind and my state of spirit and the way that I want to communicate and pass my voice to you and speak the same language, not in terms of the English language, it's not the same language coming from our hearts. It's like, okay, let me recognize this horse. Let me recognize how tall she or he is. Black, brown, white, horse, male, female. For the indigenous people, it's really important to distinguish and bring all of these characteristics in order to evolve, in order to develop, in order to understand the real meaning of being awake and be more spiritual. So right now I'm feeling that we are getting into the same frequency. Because I am asking you and I am speaking from my heart to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I want to communicate with your generation, especially women, because I believe that women are so wise. But when we live internally, we cannot be totally clear related to our spiritual path. So we need to refine, to evolve, to bring down some sort of requirements and organize from there our main, interest, our main participation, our main strategy, especially for you, Nirete, and for your beautiful friend that I cannot remember her name again.
Yeah, you remember.
Yes, finally. Thank you. It's just how Whitney and Nirete, young, strong, incredible, wise women, can address their galloping, their mind galloping, and be totally aware of where are located their roots, which means your spirit, which means your ancestry. So how you in your generation, in your 20s, in your early 30s, how you can manage that at this particular time with this particular crazy manifestation of selfishness, being totally egotistic and very, very individualistic, that you want to resolve your issue as a person, as an individual, and probably never get the real information of the real meaning of being in community. How I can bring back and turn into my roots if I am galloping constantly, searching, finding out, and moving ahead. I am not quite sure if young generations have elders enough to guide them, guide you. I believe that at a certain point you are totally orphans. A bunch of orphans all over the world. And you're trying to do your best, you're trying to build your best, you're trying to do wonderful things, but without, elders' guidance, no. I believe in the person. I believe in your capacity as Nirete, as Whitney. But Nirete and Whitney need their elders. You need your mama, your papa, your grandmama, your grandpapa, your mentors. Like I said in the Amazon jungle, I need my maestros, my spiritual mentors, to recognize where exactly are my roots. And with that, with those roots, how I can recreate myself in order to create a new order, or at least be part of a real transformation. At a certain point, I feel so sad and I feel so tired because in the last 9 months, working and moving and hiking constantly up in the mountains of the rainforest Amazon, working constantly with my people in the middle of the pandemic COVID-19, in the middle of the emergency, in the middle of the destruction of the values. I wonder what is next. I still do my fight. I still do my prayers. I still do my long walks, asking to Mother Nature, asking to the river, asking to the trees, asking to the rocks, asking to the stars. What is next? If around me is just falling down. And when I say falling down, it's just destruction, deforestation, poverty, indifference. So it's really important to bring certain characteristics of your understanding of being Philippine or being Native American or being Asian, born in the US. Where are your ancestors right now? From where you can get your guide if your grandparents are not around anymore, or because they just lost their roots coming to the US. So it's a really big question, my darling, because I can see, the deep sadness, the deep sorrow of many of our relatives in the US, Native American relatives, African American relatives, just it's sad, and at the same time, like there is some kind of how do you say this in English? Polarization, like it's the extreme positions between Democrats and conservative people. It's just so. Where are my ancestors that bring a real and sensitive answer to my multiple questions in order to fight, in order to guide me, in order to go and build my right path, to contribute and do my efforts in order to get a better world. I wonder. And also I reflect a lot in the last few weeks, because if I don't keep going, and I decided to not give up myself, because I keep my faith, I keep my hope when I am constantly moving in and out, back and forth, up and down. Just if I decided to be, into my room and and not see any people around because of the pandemic issue. Probably my heart and my soul will be already dead as an Indian woman. I'm sure it will. But again, I am almost 60 years old, and I know you know about Whitney's soul. It's just about your generation soul. It's just what does it mean for you at this particular time? And I would like to ask these questions to your audience, to your people, to your sisters and brothers, if there are some. For you, what does it mean? I mean, bring back your roots. Bring back to your roots.
That's such a big one.
Yeah, it's a big, as Whitney's saying, it's a big question, right? So I'll let, they can hear you. So Whitney's typing it out and see if anybody wants to answer. And then they will tell me and I will communicate to you.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, because your audience, I think, is more like you, right? Very young, or in their early 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Challenging times for young generations.
Mm-hmm.
Very challenging.
I think something that you mentioned, Mama Eda, about being orphans, that's really how I feel. And I'm curious if others feel the same way. But yeah, not having elders, except like when I met you at, 12 years old, I immediately wanted to go live with you. I remember so clearly.
Yes, I do too.
And, but yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. It feels, even though we have family and parents and grandparents, but because they are cut off from their roots, it does feel like an orphan, because when you try to explain what you're feeling, they don't understand.
Or they don't really want to understand anymore. It hurts them a lot. Because you remind them that they decided to cut the roots, meaning, disappear and be without their soul. Too hard. Very harmful. It's almost impossible to sustain that kind of feeling. So better if I deny that in order to survive. I'm thinking and having this feeling, if you go and ask them if they don't really want to talk about that because they are in pain, because they feel sad, because they feel guilty, because it's too much for their sensitivity, that they don't want to bring back any of those memories. But it's good to ask them if they are still alive. Because their answers will cure you a lot, will heal the big holes on your soul. To me, it amazes me how elders, grandparents, can survive without perfect feeling. I will not. I won't. I will feel already dying without my soul. Maybe for that reason, Westerners, already decided to escape and bring, and build a new refugee, like technology, in order to feel alive or sense alive. I'm reflecting with all of you, my dear.
Yeah, I have chills. Whitney's shaking her head. Yes. That makes a lot of sense. Because we always, you talked about the galloping, minds galloping. What do?
Yes.
We can't spend 1 minute alone. We go on the internet.
Yes.
And gallop again.
Yes.
Or we go and find a new book to read, which is nothing wrong. But like,
multiple times, without any sense.
Yep.
Without any real configuration of yourself in order to build some real meaning of being alive. Because no sense. It's automatic. It's just mechanic. It's just like, oh, okay. If I don't do that, it's just okay. I'm so bored, so I don't want that. But it's important to feel bored because you can feel that sensation into yourself and describe what does it mean. Boring. I would say no, boring is just they don't want to feel sad. They don't want to feel empty because they already are very empty, deep into themselves, which really scares me a lot. Believe me, my darling, it's just if the Creator and the universe and Mother Earth allow me to travel again next year, I feel a little, I don't know, shy. Face, all of these new patterns that young generations are facing right now. And this is not about I want to convince you. No. That is an illusion, a fantasy. Nobody convinces anybody. You convince yourself, that's all.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So what are the reflections of your audience, my dear? Whitney or other people around?
Okay, Whitney, well, let's see if we can. I'm going to take her off my headphones and see if she can hear you, okay?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Hi, Ada. Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, she can.
Try saying it again.
Okay. Hi, Ada. Can you hear me?
Yes, a little far away, but still I can hear you. Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. There's something about Narete mentioned this before about the galloping of the mind. And your mentioning of us being orphans really is something that speaks to me in terms of just understanding my own family lineage and understanding who are my ancestors and understanding how to heal our generational trauma when there's so much that's just been disconnected. There's so much that was just left on the continent of Africa before us becoming enslaved people. Like there was just such a disconnect, and being able to today I learned about my ancestry on both my maternal and my dad and my mom's side, and being able to sit with the new knowledge that I've gained is powerful so that I can do this healing work properly instead of just guessing. It's helping me to be able to go back. And so I just really appreciate the things that you said, because they really pinpoint a lot of things that I had already been thinking, I'd already been feeling. And so I'm just so grateful for hearing the confirmation, for the wisdom that you share. So I just want to personally thank you for that.
Thank you for your kind of words. Yes, my darling, because at the end, if each one of us are guessing constantly that our parents or grandparents or brothers and sisters think, or we believe that they think, it's just nothing. It's just, I mean, it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Guessing is like, I don't know. I'm thinking a word in Spanish to translate in English. It's just like, if I guess, it's just pure speculation.
Mm.
For me, as an elder, and I did many times since I was very young and very aware of my path, I decided to ask them directly. I mean, ask to my father, ask to my mother, ask to my grandparents, everything that I was not quite clear and that I felt lost.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I decided to stay and keep on my own game, I believe that I couldn't get, real information of really healing my spirit, really healing my soul, and really understanding my mind
Mm-hmm.
and my body. Because I was guessing, not real, not truth,
Mm-hmm.
no real information. So even that our grandparents, especially in the United States, that I met wonderful young people, especially women, young women, and they fight with their parents. They fight with their grandparents and say, please, grandfather, please, grandmother, please, mom, tell me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want it. They didn't want to say anything. It's just only trying to escape and get, the refugee into the religion.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that sort of pattern is just, or deep behavior is just very selfish. It damages, our children. It damages our grandchildren. But we are not aware. We are not conscious. We don't want to be conscious because it's too much for us. It is too much for elders trying to, how do you say desnudar, like be nude again? How do you say nude? Nude, naked.
Okay,
In front
nude,
of my
naked.
grandchildren.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if I guess, if I am guessing, how I can build my real path if base of my path is just I'm guessing? How I can build my foundation, especially my real foundation, my spiritual foundation, if I initiate my path just guessing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just it's impossible. It's a fake. It's a fake truth. I mean, it's not true. Are you following me?
100%.
So I would like to encourage you to ask your grandparents, to ask your parents. I'm not saying intimidate them. I'm not saying, just asking to tell you the truth. And they have to do their efforts because you are their children. And you carry a lot of behaviors because they decided to ignore you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't accept that. I'm sorry for your grandparents, but I don't accept that. As an elder,
That's real.
I don't agree with that. Because we are not thinking about our next generation. Because we are not protecting our next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are not building a clear path for our next generation. How I can create my path if I still carry a lot of wounds? I can guide others if I cannot fix or find out my own wounds and heal them?
Mm-hmm.
It's again another example of being fake, unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, intellectually speaking, you can do that. Even you can write and publish a book. But I mean, walking in your path every single day, every single time and moment that you decide to stop and turn around and see yourself and build. How do you say fuente? Fountain, you say in English? Fountain?
Mountain?
Fountain is just like this sort of artistic order, following in the middle of the patio. Fountain?
I'm not sure.
Oh, it doesn't matter. No importa.
Ada, I have a question for you.
You always have questions, my darling.
Yes. Earlier you said something about if your parents or grandparents are not comfortable having these conversations or not ready to have these conversations. What was your advice or what did you say as an alternative?
I would say persistence.
Okay. Okay, I'll keep on doing what I'm doing then.
I mean, because I try to understand, the cultural approach of the U.S. and Americans from the U.S. You are quite respectful and polite to not forcing them to speak to you directly,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to feel them quite how to say, embarrassing because your questions.
Mm-hmm.
So in consequence, you give up
Mm.
and you continue, your path, just like you said before, guessing. So I would say that we have to manage the frequency and the energy at that precise moment. If you feel that you are pushing quite strong and intense, that they feel quite devastated at certain point, well, you stopped. But you don't forget. You stop. And you will find out another version of your question later.
Okay. That's the phase I'm in. Got it.
Do you understand my perception?
Absolutely. Yes, I do.
It's a nice, it feels nice to hear it from you, Ada, because I also feel like I've been stuck. You know, I try to ask questions and then I am sad, or I stop asking questions because I see that, you know, my grandparents aren't, you know, it brings them a lot of pain. So they don't want to talk about it. Or they just say, oh, you know, Christianity, God, you know, that's kind of their response. So they go back to that religion,
Mm-hmm.
as you kind of mentioned, is like a safety net.
Yeah. But my darling, remember that religion is just an excuse. So they can pray and bring up all kind of sacredness because their church and religion, but I really believe that even that they are not quite aware and conscious, they tend to be very selfish because they don't want to feel guilty anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So my protection is using the religion as an excuse to not ask my children or my grandchildren any question, because I wear my religion. My religion represents, a kind of a shield where I won't feel any guilty because my God, my religion protects me.
Mm.
To not feeling guilty. So for me as an Indigenous elder, that means a lot of egoism and selfishness. So I build an excuse in the name of God. And I build a big wall that I call religion because nobody will pass and invade my deep sorrow, my deep guilt, feeling guilty in any experience that I already have with my children or my grandchildren. So if they approach to me and jump, the wall of my religion, so I would say, oh no. God is protecting me and you just, cross the border and you don't respect me. And my God is my God, and my religion is the answer to every question that you have. So no more questions.
Pretty much.
I don't think so. I don't believe that. It's just I'm saying, like I said before, you have to be perseverant and asking them. I'm not saying just brutally, and say, oh, grandmama, like the religion is just a speculation. I'm not saying that, but just, using your refined, intuitive wisdom and use, the tick-tock of your heart and say, oh, okay, so I think this is the right time to ask her, to ask them something. but I have to figure out how I can ask them without, them feeling guilty or in pain. But sometimes, my dear, you have to ask them directly. It's not, like you wear, one kind of hat today and another mask tomorrow, and wear, a new one next week, because you already have a new fake religion, a fake identity, which is not spiritual. Not at all. It's just, your horse galloping frenetically already created just one for you. I mean, your mind helped you to create a fake spiritual path in order to not feeling sad or empty, or just because that fake spiritual path calm down your questions and your anxiety, or even calm down, the pain of your wounds. So, I don't know if you're following me, my indigenous perception of healing our wounds, asking to our grandparents.
We are following you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important because, yes, in the West, there's a lot of separation of, you put your elders in an elderly home. You separate. As soon as you turn a certain age, you're out of the house. And because, again, like you mentioned, so much sadness, so much trauma, so many wounds not healed. And I think this is very powerful for my generation to hear, powerful for me to hear, as a reminder that not to give up.
Oh no, my darling. No. You will die if you decide to give up. Your soul will die already. Your spirit will be absent the whole time, because it is unsafe, because it's too little, too weak, almost invisible, too shy, not strong enough to appear and say, hey, I'm here. We are together. I follow you. We fight together. And my dear friends, I think fighting is not an opposite in terms of bringing up and developing and building our spiritual path. I am a fighter. I am a spiritual woman and also an environmental activist. And I do fight for my people. I do fight for planet Earth. I do fight for Mother Earth. I argue with intelligence and sensitivity, and then I sit and pray and talk to the spirits of my rainforest Amazon and talk to the stars to guide me next day when I will meet, politicians or bureaucracy or local authorities, etc. It's not a contradiction. Not at all. One feeds another, and it supports each other. It feeds each other. Otherwise, I will feel divided again. How I can be, in contemplation 24 hours every single day. If the jungle is, disappearing in one of my sites, will I keep my prayers until, the fire and the guns and the machines will cut the last tree where I sit and pray? No. And I bring, the message to my very young generation of indigenous children that you keep fighting for your land, for your people, for your territory, for your natural resources, and for the wisdom of your knowledge. So we can do both. And it's not a contradiction. It's the opposite. I feel that it reinforces me to be strong enough in my spirit to continue my spiritual path and bring, knowledge into my mind and manage my intellectual perception better. A lot of work, my dear friends, here. Oh my goodness. A lot of work. Wounds are everywhere, outside and inside.
Mm-hmm.
So please, don't give up. Even that it's painful, even that it is really painful and harms your soul, asking your grandparents, don't give up. Please don't. You represent hope for the whole planet. Your generation represents hope in the whole planet. No chance, my dear friends. No chance. Look around in the whole world. So it's good to have, your elder close to you, or even a little far away, like Ada. It doesn't matter. We are very present. When it's time to be together, we will. When it's time to connect and communicate quite clear and get the same frequency and get this perfect synchronicity with the universe and the human voice, we will. Like we are doing right now. Even the technology is quite crazy in my country. or times, Yeah. So I would love to have another, Zoom call, but please, dear Nirete, no with this kind of complex.
Yes.
What is the name of this other form of communicate? Something that you mentioned that I cannot remember.
Yes, next time we'll do something simple and like Zoom, because you already know it's easier.
Yeah, and also because Peruvian people use Zoom, not other type of, how do you say this, Zoom and etc.
Yes.
Other type of platforms.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. Well, I apologize because, it was my fault for the mix-up and the time zones, but I really appreciate you, Ada. I have always admired you as an elder, as just a person in my life. And I think, like you said, when the times are right, it will align. Maybe when I was 12, that was just meeting you was that alignment, but, not seeing you again for another 10 years,
then again, an alignment. So
Yes.
thank you. And I feel like I need to take the whole day to go sit and, really breathe in everything that you have shared today, because it's very important.
Yeah, my darling, because my hope is in your generation. And if elders don't help you, who knows about the future of humanity? So I do my best to communicate with you. I try to follow your technology, even that I am far away. So I want to bring my voice in and be close to you and your friends and your audience, because I believe that if your generation won't save Mother Earth, we are done as a human beings. So I do keep strongly my hope in you, dear Nirete. And I told you several times when you were here in Peru. And I do believe that if I really want to support you, to support your efforts, to help you to cure your wounds and witness and other friends that are, trying to manage, their horses quite properly and bring down that sort of energy and put into your heart. So I'm here. So I would love to say, dear Nirete, that please, we are not done with this conversation. So if you can manage with your group, with Whitney and another friends that you already have, developing all of these wonderful initiatives in order to heal, our wounds together. So I will be here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mama
And,
Ada.
and with time, enough to coordinate and do better.
Yes.
Can you do that?
Yes. Yes, Mama Ada.
Yeah, so I think you can ask, your audience if they will be able to, organize and set up another time together and do a Zoom, spiritual reflection where I can see you and they can see me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's important, to see each other.
Yes.
And we can go to the next chapter of the same topic that we already initiate tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a lot of elements and aspects and corners where we can go together.
Mm-hmm.
And explain to you much, with more examples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have someone, Savannah commented, and she would like to share. Thank you, Ada, Whitney, and Narete. This was profound and special. I would love to connect another time with Ada, please.
Oh, yes. I will be totally happy to do again, my dear Nirete. Absolutely. Count on me.
Yes. Thank you.
Please count on me. Yeah.
I will do better at making sure everything works. But
my darling, you are young and very energetic, and I know that you are a warrior. So I believe you and trust you, and I'm sure that you will do better. Oh, I'm totally sure. Yeah. And please extend I'm sorry, for your audience that I cannot see them, they cannot see me, and but next time we can and better if you use Zoom technology, please, the
Yes.
Zoom platform, because it's more it is more familiar here in Peru to use Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next time,
Yes.
Zoom.
We'll do a
Yeah.
special edition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you again for this beautiful opportunity to share with you and communicate with you through my voice, and I hope that I will connect with you soon.
Yes, very soon.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
yes, thank you.
Ada, thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
My pleasure. With me, my pleasure. Next time I will see your face. Yeah.
And I yours.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks to you, my dear.
We'll talk with you soon.
Sure.
Okay.
Much love to you.
Much love.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Well,
Stay tuned for our next episode as
Yeah.
we debrief all of that. And just a reminder, please, everyone, I think Whitney put the link to the Shawi project to donate to Ada and her community. Please make a donation if you have the means. Would be much appreciated. I mean, technology, hey, it was a rough start, but it happened. Can't hold the energy back.
You sure can.
So.
We're not in control of it. We're just stewards of it. We're just kind of just up at its wheel, and things happen the way they need to happen, and we just keep moving. But what a pleasure to still be able to have such incredible wisdom. Before we head out, I want to just say that I'm so grateful for her spirit and her wisdom, and there was so much that was just affirmed for me. In knowing that okay, you know what, as far as things go on my end of how I'm approaching things within my family and trying to further my healing process, to know that persistence is the key, and sometimes you got to just be blunt, and then sometimes you got to know when to rein it in, and knowing that I've done a mix of those and have recently just been whatever, I'm taking space. But to know to stick with it, that's just really reassuring, and to just know that a lot of the things that I intuitively have just felt and observed are legit, and it's real. I like that. I like having some affirmations and being validated. External validation really does go far.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next month. Maybe not on this platform, so stay tuned.
Follow us. You can follow me at Whitney Ghaffari. I'm going to write that down real quick in the chat, at Whitney Ghaffari, and at Yo Peace Girl. Real quick.
That's me.
And I'm Whitney. You'll be able to stay up to date with when we decide to do part 2 with Ada, and then what our just future topics are on a monthly basis. So yeah, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for showing up. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Adios.
Bye.